Hello, all you 41st Millennium loving cosmonauts. As always, I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be taking a preview look at Dawn of War 3. I recently got my hands on the closed beta, the closed multiplayer beta. There is no single player in the beta, and I really was getting anxious to see what Relic has been doing all these years with the Dawn of War franchise. I have seen a couple of the trailers and seen a couple of the developers' diaries. I also interviewed one of the developers a while back. And finally, the closed beta is here. So let's talk about what I got to experience and my thoughts on the multiplayer and the core gameplay in general. It would be certainly fair to say that my expectations were fairly high. I mean, Dawn of War is one, if not my most favourite RTS franchise. I love Dawn of War 1. I love Dawn of War 2, even though it was less traditional RTS and more team-based tactics. But it was still a fantastic game. And it is one of the only Warhammer 40,000 games that I can sit there and say I have absolutely loved from start to finish. There's very few Warhammer 40 games that meet that criteria for me. So I, needless to say, was coming in with pretty high expectations, and I have to say, I have thus far not been disappointed in any regard. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dawn of War 3 is based around three factions. It's based around the Space Marines, the Eldar, and the Orcs, and probably we will get expansions and new content and new races later on, but for now, that is the three main races that you're able to play in the game. Now, the closed beta did not have any single player. It only had the one multiplayer mode, which is the Power Core mode. Now, the Power Core mode is essentially a RTS match that incorporates MOBA objective elements. So by that I mean you have your base building, you have, unit production, you have resource gathering, which you do by capturing resource points. And then the sole objective of the game is to destroy the enemy's power core instead of destroying their base. You do this by first destroying the shield generator, then you have to destroy the defense turret, and then you have to destroy the power core. You can't go direct for the power core or direct for the turret, for example, because you have to destroy the shield generator first. So there's an order of objectives that you need to complete to be able to take the enemy out. And the map design of the multiplayer, while it's not as lane-based as a MOBA map would be, it's clear that it has some MOBA-inspired elements in there, and that there are certain lanes, as you would put it, but it is a bit more open than that. The Power Core mode, you were able to play 1v1, 2v2, or 3v3, all of which worked well. On the technical side of things, before I get into the core gameplay, I have to say that the game ran very well. It looked great, it sounded great thus far, and all the things that I want in terms of sound, audio quality, and graphical fidelity all got check marks in that regard, so I was very pleased about that. The core gameplay is something that has changed from game to game in Dawn of War. You had a very traditional RTS in Dawn of War 1, then that switched to a team-based tactics RPG style game in Dawn of War 2, and this time we've kind of returned to a blend of the two. You have a lot more traditional RTS elements in Dawn of War 3, so you have your base building, you have your unit production, you have resource gathering, but you also have down-to-the-wire tactics within your units as well. So units have activated abilities. You have elite units, which they don't cost you power or requisition points. They instead cost you elite points that you generate over time. And you use your elite points to summon one of three elites, whichever one you can afford. And then you drop it down, and then that elite unit has its own abilities and passives as well. And so there's a nice blend between the two in there. I have to say that it certainly feels like sometimes that while it is a blend of Dawn of War 1 and Dawn of War 2, there are certain MOBA-esque inspired elements within Dawn of War 3, particularly in the multiplayer. I haven't played the single player yet. And it's something that on the face of it, you think, oh, I'm not sure if that sounds great. It actually works very, very well. The overall gameplay is really fluid. It so far has a little bit of a nice balance. I think some of the units are a little bit overpowered. I think the orcs are a little bit overpowered too. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the multiplayer to the point where I was getting absolutely, booted to high heaven by another Eldar player. He was kicking my ass literally up and down the map. He had controlled most of the resource points. I had like one left. And literally all I did was just wait while he was taking out my shield generators, wait for him to start on my turret. And I built up my forces. I didn't, just throw enemies and kept throwing soldiers at him. I just waited and then basically struck at the right time as he was trying to destroy my defense turret. I attacked him, summoned my Wraith Knight Taldir as well, destroyed his main elite, destroyed his army, went on the counter-offensive and took the entire map within around 5 minutes. And that was one of those moments where I was like, holy crap, that was amazing. And it was nice that the game allows you to do that the balance in place right now allows you to have major comebacks like that if you are clever about it. It's about, while Zerg rushing certainly does work from time to time, it can really be easily countered. It's something that I was very concerned about, was the fact that, the meta is just going to be Zerg rush and you're not going to be able to stop. But the fact is, the abilities that the game gives you, the elite abilities that you have, not to mention all of the various different unit types, and they have strengths and weaknesses individually too. It allows you to use the map, use your environment, use your units, and use your abilities to your advantage, so that if the enemy does Zerg rush you, you are actually really easily able to, if you know what you're doing, to just wipe them all out in one go. For example, the Eldar have a special ability called the Eldritch Storm, which basically calls down a cyclone and destroys anything within it. And so when I was getting Zerg rushed, what I would do is I would put my line units in a row, make sure that the enemy's clumped together, and then hit that Eldritch Storm and just continuously fire upon them while the storm is damaging them too. And I was able to wipe out, an entire army very, very quickly. I also like the fact that because of each unit's individual strengths and weaknesses, and the fact that they can be upgraded, and the fact that even just normal line units sometimes have abilities themselves, like the Howling Banshee, for example, you're able to quick strike, which means that they charge forward and quickly destroy enemy shields and that kind of thing. It allows you to have a good tactical variety within any given situation. There's certainly a good amount of depth to this game, even from the limited multiplayer that I've played so far. I love each individual race. They all play unique. They all have their unique traits, and it's something that, for me, is almost really critical to any good Dawn of War game, and any good Warhammer game for that matter, is the fact that you need the races to feel and play mechanically different, because they are very different in their core essence and in the lore. They are very different, so you need that to be reflected within the gameplay, but also maintain a good balance. And I think thus far, while there are a couple of issues here and there, for the most part, Relic have done a top job. What I would like to see, however, in the future, especially in the full launch, is more multiplayer modes. I certainly like Power Core mode, but I would like to see a more traditional team deathmatch matchup. I think that would be interesting to see. I would like to see more gameplay objective-based modes as well. I think that would be certainly something that would work well. With the way that the units are designed and the armies are designed, it is fairly flexible in what modes you could put in place here. And for me, while the single player is absolutely paramount for me personally, because I love stories and I love story-driven games, and Dawn of War has always provided a really good story mode, the longevity is going to certainly, and in terms of retention, is going to be lied within that multiplayer until the next expansion comes out. And I certainly hope that they really flesh out that multiplayer and give people a reason to keep coming back. They've certainly done that within the progression thus far. The elites level up as you use them within matches, and then after matches they gain experience, and you're able to unlock new abilities for them and improve them even further. You're able to unlock new doctrines, which are basically abilities and buffs, or the statistical changes that you can equip. You can equip 3 doctrines before entering any given multiplayer match, and they will do something that will affect your army in some way. For example, there is a Howling Banshee doctrine that allows them to silence and blind the enemy upon using Howley's Banshee Scream. and so that it was a really nice statistical change for me. There's also one where it gives you the ability to place energy shields around the battlefield, that kind of thing. So you're able to unlock more of them and purchase more of them using skulls, which is the in-game currency that you accumulate as you play matches. So there's certainly hints of nice progression through that multiplayer. I was very impressed by the map design. I loved the gameplay mode, but I would like to certainly see more. But for me, the most important thing was, of course, that core gameplay. And for the most part, barring a few balance issues here and there, especially some overpowered units, particularly within the Orc camp, I have to say, that I was really impressed by the entire thing. It gives me a lot of confidence going into full launch that the rest of the game will be as good as this. But I have to say that as first impressions and previews go, Dawn of War 3 is exactly what I was looking for. It was exactly what I wanted, and it even managed to meet my high expectations. So barring a massive fuck up upon launch where they've destroyed the single player, or they do something ridiculously bad, I think that in terms of looking ahead within the next month, Dawn of War 3 is probably going to be a safe bet for Warhammer 40k fans. And that is my preview of the Dawn of War 3 multiplayer beta. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe and share the video on social media. And as always, I will see you next time.